And be patient. Hi, everyone. This is Margaret Hirsch at Home with Hirsch's, and thank you for joining us for our wellness talk today. Now, as you know, Monday morning, some people are excited about a Monday morning. Some people are miserable on a Monday morning. It's so funny that usually I have a big staff. I have 2,500 staff. So I usually have about at least 10 who phone in on a Monday morning saying, I'm not coming to work, I'm sick or something. Today I had 2, which is amazing because it means that they love coming to work. And I always say to them, the reason I get upset is not because you're not coming to work. The reason I get upset is you don't love your job, because if you loved your job, you'd get up and you'd get there. You know, even if you weren't feeling that great, you'd get there. But yeah, so it's just amazing that there are 2 today, but on a Monday morning. But here we are, and we're ready to give everybody their boost for the week. And that's what this is all about. It's just giving you a boost juice for the week and getting you up and running and letting you know that it's a mindset. You've got to change your mind if you want to change your life. You can't change your life with the same mindset. So here we've got our 2 co-hosts, Jess and Stacey, who are with me today. Thank you so much for joining me. And we've got our amazing speaker, Carrie, who's going to come in. Stacey, would you like to introduce Carrie to us?
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Margaret. And hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Carrie, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited to hear all about your topic on anxiety. I think we can all say that we need to hear this at different times in our lives. Carrie is an internationally accredited life coach, a star leadership facilitator, Enneagram, and TIFF practitioner with a degree in industrial general psychology. Beyond her qualification, she has learned to connect with people young and old and from all walks of life. At the heart, she guides people from where they are to where they want to be through insight sharing and holding a safe space for people to flex their creative muscles so that they not only develop themselves, but are able to live in creation and thrive. As an entrepreneur, she is also always looking for ways to develop and grow ideas and build results that flourish. So on to you, Carrie. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Stacey, for that introduction. And thank you, Margaret, for this platform where we can have these talks. I think it's particularly exciting and it's so needed. I can say for myself, I've needed that connection with the community, this feeling of isolation given how we are. So I've really enjoyed it and I think it's really, really valuable. So thank you, Margaret. Today, talking about anxiety, given that I'm a life coach, I jumped at this opportunity because it is the most common thing that is present in my clients, with my clients. I'll come into the room and it's almost a given. To what degree are you feeling anxiety today? Especially in the last few years. So how I will approach the topic is through my context as a life coach and how I would take a client through the different steps of dealing with anxiety. So first rule, and the first rule is like the groundwork for the space in our sessions, the ground rules, sorry. And I feel like they're so valuable that perhaps if you've got a pen and paper, you should write it down. And if you suffer from anxiety or if you have anything in your life going on, you can write it all over your walls, tattoo it on your hand, however you want to make this integrated in who you are. So it's something that we practice in our sessions to the point that hopefully you will go forth and live in this way. So the 3 rules look like this. There's no judgments. Everything is okay. Just be curious. So no judgment, meaning whatever you're coming in with a session, and in this case, it will be anxiety. There's no, this is good, this is bad. I'm going to take this on as it being more meaningful than what it is, right? No judgment. It is what it is. It's like spilt milk. This is the scenario, because people, like you were saying with anxiety, they might direct it at something and give it more meaning than what it is. Everything is okay, meaning like, okay, this is what it is. We can deal with it. And lastly, just be curious. So with any feeling that we experience, anxiety being what we're talking about today, but it could be feeling happy, it could be feeling anger. All of the feelings are just information. So it's just like, I'm curious. That's interesting that I'm feeling this way. Yes, so those are the 3 rules. They are so powerful and valuable if you are using them and integrating them in whatever you do in your life. So I've also just noticed I'm bouncing around because I'm coming to you live from my bedroom, not the office. I've got a sick child at home. So I'm propping up this with thousands of pillows. So I'll stop there. Yeah. We'll dive into basically what is anxiety. I think we all know that anxiety is just your body's very valuable alert system to try and focus your attention onto something that is perhaps giving you fear. It is coming from where we are genetically wired from back where saber-toothed tigers would be coming at us, to threaten our actual physical survival. And we go into survival mode to survive. And then fast forward to where we are right now. Obviously, mostly we are not having our physical survival threatened. It is our ego that is being threatened. And it might sound like this. I've got a huge presentation coming up. I'm hugely anxious about that. It might be I've got a job interview. I'm starting a new school. My business is doing really badly. My relationships are doing badly or whatever. So you're having your ego or your safety, emotional, otherwise being threatened. So it is like this little dial that warns you, alerts you such that you focus your attention. That's why I'll go back to it being, there's no reason to judge it. It's just about being able to sit there in a calm space and acknowledge, what is this trying to send you information about? So then how it shows up. And I think the point of my talk would be to say, for me, as a person who has experienced quite a bit of anxiety in my life, it sort of has come and gone, and at some stages stayed, I think, very much longer than welcome. But anxiety for me, it's been something that I've learned to have to just firstly become very aware of it. So having awareness of it is the first step into really being able to grasp it, own it, and take charge of it so that it doesn't own and take charge of you. Because I think with a lot of uncomfortable feelings, especially in corporate and men, I notice they are having these huge amounts of anxiety, but because it's a feeling they're not comfortable with, they kind of just pack it away. So I wanted to talk about how it shows up differently for different people. So again, so you have that awareness for even your loved ones in your life. You get overfunctioning anxiety and underfunctioning anxiety. So like exactly with the alarm bell that we spoke about, it being a warning signal to focus your attention on your survival, the overfunctioning and underfunctioning anxiety comes in when you'll get somebody, when faced with fear or being threatened in any way, which looks like any of those examples that I showed you, they will go into complete overdrive. It might look like they're being so productive. And in fact, maybe they've got a very healthy relationship with anxiety, in which case it really is helpful. But we're talking about unhealthy relationships with anxiety. Overdrive looks like taking complete charge. It looks like running around almost like a headless chicken, I want to say, that energy, busy, do, ticking things off your list. Underfunctioning anxiety, which I think I'm more inclined to go in that direction. Of course, you can do one or the other. And a lot of people, especially over COVID, have in fact changed from one source of anxiety to another, but you can experience both. And I'm sure you have. But I go into more like the underfunctioning, where I go almost paralyzed. It looks like this, very unmotivated, very, procrastinating a lot. You want to hand your problems over to other people. And if you can imagine, that is like, in terms of survival mode, that's your freeze, fight, flight, or freeze. And of course, none of them are really valuable. So the first thing, being a non-doctor, but I feel like I would be shortchanging you if I didn't mention this, because a lot of people will come to me first. I think this is how the world is working. We are so busy and we just want to sort of throw money at it. But the first thing that I would say before I even have a client, I would say, just start with the very freaking obvious things that you need to be doing. And the obvious things are like, are you getting into nature? how is your gut health? Are you exercising? If I'm not a medical doctor, but if I didn't just take a moment to just share that bit of very freaking obvious information, I would be shortchanging, because I think that will eliminate so many people. Clients will come to me with huge amounts of anxiety, and it's like, hey, what is your diet like? Are you resting? Are you sleeping enough? And they're completely in overdrive. So it's almost like, well, before you waste anyone's time, perhaps tackle that first, right? And then come and see us, because I've heard of people saying they suffered anxiety their whole lives, and then once they got their gut health sorted, they were fine. And then,
Amazing.
Speaking to the complete opposite, you will have somebody with an anxiety disorder. So just as a disclaimer, you could perhaps have inherited and sort of very unhealthy sort of hormone imbalance. You are just unable to produce the hormones that will keep your cortisol level calm, in which case, or you could have inherited it, or you could have just had so much anxiety for so many years that legitimately your brain hormone is all out of whack, in which case medication is really, really helpful. Yeah.
Amazing.
So I'm sort of speaking to those clients, and I think I would divide them into two. I've tried everything. I am very active. I'm doing all the right things.
Oh. Margaret, you on speaker.
Okay, yeah, so I lost her, and I was trying to swap to another satellite to bring her back. Oh, you're back, Carrie. Okay, sorry. You disappeared there. Yeah, so I'm just writing down nature, gut health. What was the third one that you had to have before you asked?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's about you will know. You will know. If I were to speak to you or anyone specifically that I'm going to talk to, if you were to be very honest with yourself, everyone will say, well, to be honest, I'm drinking too much. Well, to be honest, I'm not sleeping. So it's like, as an individual, I think if you were to connect with your body, and to be really honest with yourself, the real basics, because, with coaching, it's not often, we don't need more information. It's not like I'm here to give you information that you can't get online. You know what it is that you need to be doing. Exercise, eat well, sleep, don't take things personally, stop drinking and drugs or whatever. I don't know, have sex more with your husband, do what you need to be doing. Step one, right? So, and that's it's not for me to say, but it's like, it would be really helpful before you jump to overthinking this whole thing. Okay, so then I get faced with a lot of clients, and it's like this. I want to speak to the two types of, you can start using these today to make a huge impact in your life, and it looks so there'll be that group, and those people know why they are anxious. Are you freezing? As it just me, you've all frozen.
Freezing in and out. But anyway, carry on. We've got the two groups of people. I'm writing my notes here. I use the freezing to catch up with my notes.
You get the people that know why they're anxious, right? They'll say, I'm really anxious because I'm going to a new school next year. I'm really anxious because, they'll know. And those spurts of anxiety will come throughout your life. And I think the hints and tips I'll give to you today look like this. Did you know that physiologically, when you are anxious, it is exactly the same symptoms and physical experience as it is when you are excited? So when you're anxious, it might be, you've got knots in your stomach, you tense up, you sweat more, your palms get sweaty, like that. Your breathing might get a bit faster, your thinking slows down, obviously, because it's all survival mode. So we want to zone in on what's important. And then look, when you are really excited, very same thing. Bubbles and butterflies in your stomach, palms get sweaty, your heart races. And it's not just me saying this, they've done loads of research with Harvard, they've studied it, and they've decided, they've come to the conclusion that you can in fact trick your brain and rewire your thinking such that when you are aware that you are becoming anxious, and it's really about being very present to that feeling and sensation, oh, wow, something's coming up for me, and being able to sort of cut the wire immediately. Mm-hmm. So you can do it for yourself and support your loved ones. Mm-hmm. And by doing that, it looks like this. You've got to anchor yourself to a different wiring in your brain. So instead of, I'm really anxious about this new job, it's, I'm really excited about this new job. Similar to affirmations, but in this case, they actually work because 99% of your body is believing it as well. So with practice, it is almost like a given that you will then start feeling excited, because when you start going, oh, I'm really excited, what that happens in your brain is the cortisol levels don't rush out, versus feeling the emotion and then going into that anxiety waves. If you know about anxiety, you'll know what that feels like. It can be overwhelming to the point that you're going to actually have a panic attack. I get clients like that, or they just get so overwhelmed and you go into complete freeze. So it's about cutting that cord and going, wow, I am so excited. And you'll see it. And now you'll see it everywhere. You'll see it when people go onto stage, on TV, on shows. Everyone says, hi, I'm so excited to be here. Chances are they were so nervous to be there.
Yeah.
Like,
So
I'm
true,
so excited.
though. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. And you just buy it and you believe it and you go with it. But again, so this sort of thing as awareness is really helpful, because you can do these little tricks and tools. So I feel like it's real life magic. It's so valuable. And go forth and use it with your children. Perhaps say, oh, you look so excited about this new class tomorrow, etc. But I'm noticing, just as my personal experience, when I have clients come in, they will come in not with an anxiety that they know of. They don't come with that. They'll come in, hey, I'm feeling so anxious. And I say, okay, let's get clear. You know, right, as a coach, we are moving from A to B. So we're going to start visioning where you want to move to, but that's, in order to do that, you've got to get really clear on where you are right now. Okay, how anxious are you? On a scale to 1 to 10, maybe with medication, 8, without medication, 12. Okay. And then they don't know why. I have no idea why I'm feeling anxious, but it's every day. It goes on for weeks and weeks and weeks. And that's the sort of case I love to work with those people, because I find it's so interesting, and I can relate. I have an enormous amount of empathy in those situations. And it's exactly the same as what we were talking about before. It's the same thing. It's your body having this little warning signal to warn you and to get sort of encourage you to focus your attention onto something that is a threat to you. And in those cases, I'm going to say it would be really helpful to see a mental health professional, go see a life coach, go see a person who can support you in getting clear on that. I believe you can perhaps do it yourself if you sit with the question. So I would just share, maybe as an example. If you have any questions, just jump in. But I'll just carry on talking until you do. Like I will share as an example for myself. A few years ago, I was also having this anxiety all the time, all day, every day. And it was when I was not working. The kiddies were little, and I was doing being at home with the small children. And I've been a businesswoman before. I was running my own business for well over 10 years since I was out of school. I sold that when the kids were small. And I noticed I was going into huge anxiety every day, to the point that I remember nights where everyone was in bed asleep. And there I was having like a full-blown panic attack, in sweats, on the floor, hyperventilating. I have no idea why. And my journey looked like this, because I can share clients that are having similar things. I was feeling anxiety all the time, because what I want is I want to be a working mother. My reality is that I'm not. The information is that I need to do X, Y, Z in order to get there. And where I am right now and where I want to be, that like gap was so overwhelming that it was debilitating. So, and you know, the truth is, everybody has that gap. No one has arrived in life. No one is saying, I'm exactly where I want to be. Even with Margaret, we look at her as this massive success. Maybe you can retire and drink cocktails, but no, you are stretching even further. There's always somewhere further that you want to go. And if it is that in that gap, that space is either going to be inspiring and pulling you forward, or that space between where you are and where you want to be is so overwhelming and scary that it sort of debilitates you. But then why? For me, I had to sit there. Why? It's like, I want to work, but it feels like what I'm doing. And I know a lot of people can relate, because I'm seeing clients after clients after clients having the same experience, even men in corporate. I know what I'm meant to be doing and I'm not doing it. So it's not, as a life coach, I don't sit there and go, well, let's make goals. Write down, you need to make all these phone calls and tell me what you need to do and make lists and plan meetings. I don't know about that. But what I do know, it's like this. What does it mean for you if you would have achieved that? So in my conscious mind, I really want to be a working mom. But then in my actions and behavior, it's like I'm driving with the handbrake on. And this is causing me so much anxiety. And I felt like no one could help me with this, right? But it dawned on me after like lot of reflection, and I've done so much self-development work, I sort of had to coach myself, as we do. It dawned on me that I had this working father who I have zero relationship with. My entire life, he was always working. And I feel like obviously with my undeveloped little child brain, I received that as, I'm nothing, I'm worthless, I'm not important, you're always choosing work. And then I had a stay-at-home mom who I feel like he undermined. So my conscious mind, I said, I will never do that. Yeah, I had sort of bought into that narrative. And somewhere very deep down, unconsciously, on a cellular level, I wasn't even aware of it. It wasn't even in my mind. But I think I made it extremely wrong to be working. Like somehow that would be very, very undermined.
I think a lot of women do think it's wrong to work when they've got little children. But when you get to my age and you look back on your life, those years I spent with my children were the most precious and the best years of my life. I would never have changed it for the world, but I felt guilty when I wasn't working, because my goal is for every woman to be financially independent. I was financially independent before I had my children. I had enough money to last me over that whole period of time. So I had my children a year apart because I wanted to get this done and over with. And as my money started to go down, I started to feel, oh my goodness, I'm becoming not so financially independent now. I don't want to be reliant on a man to bring money home. How soon can I get back to work? And when I started working again, then I felt incredibly guilty that I wasn't with my children. But I'll just tell you all this because I've been through it, and probably a lot of you haven't. When my children got to 10, I said to them, you have a choice now. Do you want a mother who stays at home with you and is there for you whenever you're there? I'm there and I'm just doing everything for you. I'll be at the tuck shop. I'll be everywhere. Or do you want a mother that goes to work who can buy you everything that you want? You can have absolutely everything you want. We have enough money to buy it. And guess what they said age 10? They said, Mom, you go to work because, we're quite happy to come home. We can do our homework by ourselves. We're actually fine. And you rather go to work and you just earn the money, because we don't want to be the kid at school who hasn't got the PS5 or the whatever it was in those days. We want to be the kid who has the latest tackies, who has the nicest things. That is important to us. And they told me that as 10-year-olds. So I did go back to work. And then when my daughter married, her husband's mother had been at home their whole life. She used to, and I can remember my daughter and her husband were both at Standard 2 together at Chelsea Drive School in Durban. And I was the working mother. I was I never was in the concert. I was never watching the concert. I wasn't sewing the things for the concert. And Dennis's mother was the one waiting at the bakery for the fresh rolls, and she'd go and she'd make the fresh rolls and run to the school and give them fresh rolls for lunch. And she was like the perfect mother. But then I remember when my son turned 18 and I realized that he was going to go and that the school life was over. And then I had this terrible feeling, have I done enough for him? Thank God he passed his matric, which as a dyslexic, it was a miracle. But have I done enough? Had I done enough for my daughter? I put my daughter in boarding school age 10 because she was just a handful. I knew that she needed the strictness of the boarding school. I found Miss Hogg, who was the headmistress at Wickham Collegiate. And I said, Miss Hogg, I'm battling with this child, but I know that you will make her into the perfect woman. And combined, we did. But I felt guilty. But people said to me, how can you have your son at home and going to a local school and your daughter at a boarding school? And some people would say, it's not fair to your son. Why didn't you send him to an expensive school? Other people say, it's not fair to your daughter. How can you put her at boarding school? But I think you've got to do what's good. But even that whole period of your life, which is 12 years while your kids are at school, it goes so quickly. When I look back now, age 71, that was a little tiny piece of my life, because then I had all the other pieces to go. But what I like to talk about is men, because I love men. Although I talk to women all the time, I love men. And I feel so sorry for the young men today when I see them having to go out, earn money, pick their own career up there. They're working at their career. They've got a wife now who falls pregnant, who stays at home. She's yowling and wanting things all the time. She's got nothing to do with her time, so she's asking for things all the time, including his time to help her. Oh, you still at work? It's 5 o'clock. I've been with these kids since this morning. Are you coming home? You know, and this poor man's got all this to go through. No wonder he's anxious. He wants to give his best to the family. He wants to be the best for his wife. He wants to give his kids everything. And he's earning one salary and supporting all these people. And I feel sorry for those men. And those men are the men that are having anxiety attacks. And you can't blame them. You know,
it's true. True.
Oh.
Margaret, it's true. For sure, the anxiety, for me, it's all men, all the men. I'll go as far as saying that, yes. It's men that are having the anxiety. All my clients that are men. And one example, why I share my example is just because it's personal and I know it. But for another one, it would be, I had a client who I loved watching his journey, because he would come and he said at our first session, it feels like there's somebody holding a gun to my head all day. That's what's going on in my body.
You've got all these juggling all these balls, and wife and the career and the kids and the money and the bond and the car repayment. His wife praying the car, and now they're short of money, and all these things he's going through, and he's still got to build his career and be the nice guy at work, and But
Margaret, you can have all these things on your and have all these things and not feel anxious. So because anxiety is not going to help with any of that. Yeah. So for me, it's working with the client to just become aware of what really is going on. So in this particular client's case, he would be a definite underfunctioning anxiety. It showed up as underfunctioning. In other words, it wouldn't be helpful for me to support him in getting things done, because he knows exactly what needs to be done, but he can't do it. So he's running his own business. He was not as financially successful as he wanted to, but on the outside, he was portrayed as this very successful person, but secretly he was actually in debt, and he was the wife and the children didn't really know it. And he wants to do these holidays, and he's holding up this facade of this successful man, but in fact, crumbling under this anxiety, right? But I'll share what we got out of those few sessions with him. It came out that in fact, his father was really, really successful at one point, but then he lost it. And when he was at the pinnacle of his success, it just was a downhill struggle. Firstly, he started to lose his money. Then his health degraded. But like over the course of this one client's life, he watched his father go from a shining, successful man, slowly crumble to losing his health. Eventually, his wife divorced him, so he left the family. And then eventually he died of a heart attack. So for my clients, he said, because we explored, the thing is, we know what it takes to be successful. Wake up early, do what you need to do, get your to-do list done, get on with it. But people don't do what is necessary. And it's not that they need more information, but for him, he had to sit and go, what does it really mean to be successful on some very deep level? Because it's not conscious, like mine wasn't conscious. I want to be a working woman, It's not conscious, but on an unconscious level, he said, success equals a death. Success equals, it's like, I feel like I'm getting there, but as soon as I'm there, it's all going to go. And it's like, I get goosebumps when a client will come to that sort of aha moment. I'm like goosebumps. And for them, it's like bringing this information that they've picked up as a small child, bringing it into their brains right now as an adult, going, wow, that makes no sense. That's so stupid. Of course I want to be successful, right? So it's like, that's what will happen in mental health. When you're working with a coach or a therapist, you can come to those, oh, wow, shit, that's what I've been carrying. That's what's holding me back. So for the anxiety in men, I feel like it's largely about really being stressed out about actually being really successful and powerful. So he would go into complete paralyzed zone. And if you look at us as human beings, I wanted to also share, we've got 3 centers. You've got your thinking center, your heart center, your feeling center, and your body center. And what happens with anxiety is that we get really stuck in our feeling anxious body center. So for somebody who's having an underfunctioning experience, it's because they're frozen in their bodies, they're frozen in their anxiety. So again, it would be the same trick. I'm excited to make these calls. I'm excited, but you really have to be in action.
Yes.
For underfunctioning. For overfunctioning, you have to be in action, but more in your body. It would look like this, right? Because I've had clients that come and they say, no, I'm feeling fine. But actually their anxiety is oozing out like a bomb and infecting everyone around them because I hear how their day is as men. And then I'm flying here and I've got Namibia and I can sort a 20-minute coaching session on Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Otherwise I'm doing this, blah, 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 blah. And I say, how is your anxiety? 12. I'm like, okay. Let's go into our body, like breathe. That would be mindfulness work. Slow down, because you think somehow you're going to control it if you keep busy, do. But look at the effects around you when you do that. No one else around you can take charge. You don't have that opportunity to step back and breathe and look at these uncertain times and just watch them come and go. You don't have that. You don't have that awareness of, oh, I don't need to be in control. Look, things happen and then they get sorted. Other people can take charge. I can focus my attention elsewhere. I can trust, which then also supports your anxiety being, taken care of. So
for me,
you see people go along and they're just going along merrily and they start to self-destruct. I've got one particular person that I've worked with where we built him up and he self-destructs. We build him up, he self-destructs. He does it almost on purpose. You can see it's going to be happening. Stacey, do you want to come in here and just want something to say that?
Talking about the self-destructing, so I also found that with myself, like I can see the picture fairly clearly and I can see all the options, but when I'm feeling incredibly anxious about something, I can't really see which is the best option to take. So for instance, at the moment, I am dealing with something and there are 50 options on the table, but I can't exactly see which is the best option. So on Saturday, I was processing all of this and I thought, you know what? I know what the best option is. I'm going to go and book with a psychologist on Connectable. I went in the morning, I booked with her, I see her often. And that for me, I'm like, okay, we're going to process this. And through talking it out, I'm going to figure out what the best way forward is. And that's what I need. I can see it, I can write it down, but I like to process it, talking it out to another person who I know will be an objective outsider looking and giving me the best advice. And that's how I process the anxiety I'm dealing with, like with you, Carrie, going and seeing a coach and saying, this is what I'm dealing with, laying out all my cards on the table and discussing which are the best options, and through me discussing it with them, I come up with my best options and they give me other points of view that, what about this? Are you looking at that? Are you seeing it like this? And that's what I need. And so possibly other people might need the same. But again, I can have really toxic thoughts sometimes. And when I have those toxic thoughts,
I surprise myself about toxic thoughts. Where did that come from?
I know. Exactly. And so my thing is, okay, so one, I'll write them down. And two, I think to myself, I don't have to believe everything that comes into my head. So is this good for me? No, it's not. Okay, I'm not going down that road. I'm not going to believe that toxic thought. And therefore, I change that narrative. Yeah. So again, sometimes you need to talk this out with somebody to be able to change that narrative and to be able to see, like you're saying with the self-destructing person, is to sit down and actually write it out, discuss it, hash it over with somebody, and somebody's saying, well, that's actually going to be a negative spiral of destruction. Like, don't go down that road,
Yeah, absolutely. Jess, what do you think?
Yes, absolutely. There's been so much, it's been so interesting and so much going on. But I think for me, I'm going to speak to anxious feelings because I think anxiety disorders can be a little bit different. But for our day-to-day sort of excessive fear and worry, we're speaking more to the anxious feelings. And I think once you learn a little bit more about yourself and the background to these feelings, you actually start to appreciate them because it's your body's way of saying, hey, there's something going on, slow down, take it easy, figure out what's happening. And if we didn't, they not only are they normal, but they're actually extremely necessary, because if we don't listen to these little cues and these little anxious feelings, it could possibly become an anxiety disorder, as per se or whatever it is. So I know for me, one of my very, very clear cues that I'm starting to feel a little bit out of control or overwhelmed or whatever it is, I have this obsessive compulsive thought that the stove is on. And it will be a day that I haven't even baked, I haven't even cooked. And I will have it in my head that I've left the stove on and the house is going to be out.
Did I put the hair straightener on?
And I'll even be driving, I'll be halfway to wherever I'm going, and I'll want to turn around and check that the stove is on. And I'll actually have to stop myself and say, you have not cooked, you have not baked. What is going on? And it's normally because there's too much going on, feeling overwhelmed, feeling out of control. And if we don't listen to those, we'll give into it, and then it becomes a bigger problem. So it's normal, it's necessary, and it's just figuring yourself out, learning what those cues are for you, and then listening to them, because eventually your body will scream at you if you don't. But yes, those little obsessive, and just to touch on the gender roles a little bit, there's been a little bit of research that's shown that COVID has actually helped a lot in terms of not only changing roles, but also showing male versus female, or just whatever it is, roles within the household, what it's like to be in the other seat. So when you've got everybody in the same household, you've now got, your stereotypical mom cleaning house, looking after kids, dad going to work, and I'm using the stereotypes. And then suddenly they've got to either exchange roles or help each other in those roles. And then there's been a lot of empathy and compassion that's been shown, because suddenly you see what it's like to have to be the full-time parent or to be the full-time breadwinner. And maybe one breadwinner loses their job and the other one has to take over. There's been an exchange, and I think it's a lot of couples have got divorced over this period, but a lot of couples have also grown closer because there's been that shared understanding and shared responsibility within the household.
Spending more time with each other, because I see a lot of couples where the husband did go off to work, the wife's had her whole life with her girlfriends and all the stuff going on. When they were forced to be together, they actually got to know each other a lot better, and he could share what he did. And we've got a chap who works with us who's very high up, who shares nothing of work with his wife. He said, I don't discuss that with her at all. And I said, that must be terrible, because to me, the whole thing is you come back, how was your day, and discuss it and go through everything, with the highs, the lows. But a lot of people don't discuss it. And I think what COVID did, bringing us together, forcing us to be together for such a time, is that we got to know each other again. I had one of my guys who said, I got to know my family again, and they're actually quite nice. It was like a surprise to him that they were such nice people. And I said to him, yes, and I think if we're going to learn one thing out of COVID, is that we've got to spend time as a family, in the family, and just make the family work for us, not against us. But my message going out to the women is, one, you've got to be financially independent, but secondly, support your husband, because that poor guy is going through a lot. And as women, we can talk. We talk it all out, you get it all out. With men, they don't do that. And my husband's not a man who goes to the pub and drinks. They go to the pub and they drink and they spill it all out to each other. But my husband doesn't do that. He's a sportsman, and it's always a sportsman, rah, patting each other on the back, come on team. And how is he feeling, as himself? And luckily, my husband's incredibly strong and he can speak his feelings out. But it took him quite a while to be able to do that. He didn't do it naturally. I said, speak your feelings out. How are you feeling? And I think as women, and I'm into very successful marriages. I've been married for 50 years. So I think the whole thing is that, one, you've got to grow together if you want your marriage to stay complete. And two, you've got to speak your feelings. You've got to say, and sometimes I even have to pick up the courage to say, look, you're doing this and I don't like it. My husband eats fast and I can't stand it. And I said, you are wolfing your food down. And he gets embarrassed now because I'm picking him out. He's wolfing his food down. So I'm going to say, I sit him down. I also say, really, Anna, you eat incredibly fast. You gulp your food down. And it's really not nice. The poor woman spent the whole day making this amazing meal with all these different tastes and textures. And you just gobbled it in 2 seconds flat. That's not the way to go. And to have these conversations that are embarrassing and uncomfortable. But once you've had them, at least now if I look at him when he's out, he knows he's not going to gobble his food down. But I think it's important to have those conversations with each other and to keep that whole family together, that you all know that you're all working the same way, and to not have a stereotype, oh, dad goes to work and mom stays at home, that we all go in this together and we're all going to contribute together. I think if we can get that togetherness into the families, I'm very into families, as you know, into family businesses. I think if we can get the families to stick together and stay together, it'll just make such a strong economy.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
I often say to my husband, like, if I can see that his behavior has changed a little bit, and I want to try and be open with our kids to, not necessarily discuss very personal things in front of them, but I want them to always feel like they can share their emotions. So, if something happens, if I lash out or if his behavior is slightly different, I'll say something up, like, what's going on, and I say the same to my boys, like, if they suddenly throwing tantrums or whatever it is, and they don't normally do that, I'm like, what's happening? What's going on in your world that you're now behaving like this? Because this isn't normally how you behave. And then, everything then spills out.
Come out, Joe. This is the problem. There's something else that's worried them.
Yeah.
I know I get very upset over my mother. And then if I go and I start attacking my husband, he'll say, how's your mother? Then I know he's saying to me, it's not about me, it's about, you're upset about something about your mother. And then I'll say, yeah, no, she cut her leg today, and that's why I'm upset. And I'm just picking on you because you're the only person here.
Exactly. Don't we do that? Hey.
Yeah.
Carrie, is it true that you take your anger out on the person closest to you, the one you love the most? Do you think that is a true saying?
Yeah, I do. But it's also it's like an unconscious thing that you do. You don't do it intentionally. So ideally, this is not the way to do it. I don't recommend it, but it happens, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And my thing is also to own that, like, when I do lash out and I can see that it's because something's upsetting me and I'm feeling anxious, I always go back and I say, I'm so sorry. I am having a bad day. I'm taking it on you. It's not the right behavior. I shouldn't do that. I need to try harder in this area. But to own that I've done it as a result of being anxious and stressed, and, and then to go and apologize and to try and do better next time.
Yes.
Oh, spot on, Stacey. That's spot on. Exactly. Remember, I was saying, hey, no judgment, just be curious. So it happens all the time for me, and it looks like that. Hey, I'm so anxious. I'm needing to just be away from everyone. Or I'm so anxious. So I say that to my kids all the time. I took it out on you. That was wrong. What I needed was this. This is not about you. It's the only way, because the truth is we are all human. You have to all feel all these feelings. But we're speaking about the little children. It might be that you need to help them identify what's really going on, and speak into that sort of inner child. You might. So I'm hoping that perhaps you took from the conversation that anxiety shows up very differently for different people. So if you are looking at your teenager who you want to murder because he's just lying on the couch, and it might be that he's enormously anxious, or if you're looking at your lazy husband or lazy wife or crazy critical partner XYZ, you can see it for what it is. We are all, and those two will often be paired, that parent-child dynamic and husband and wife. It'll often be that the one is over-functioning, the other one is under-functioning. So it's just have that awareness for each other, right? Like we all need to just show a bit of grace and patience for what we're all going through.
But I babysat my grandsons this weekend, and the little one is 8, and he was outside by himself, and I said, Brody, what are you doing? He says, no, buddy, I'm just having some alone time. I mean, at 8, he knew he needed alone time.
That's amazing.
Sometimes when mom says to me when I'm playing up, she says, just go and have some alone time. So I'd have some alone time.
I love it.
8-year-old. So I mean, this goes to show sometimes you do need alone time. Sometimes you need time with people. So just I mean, you come across anxious people and you know that they're not taking it out on you because of you, they're taking out the anxiety on you. How do you handle them? You know, because we have very anxious people coming into store, they're anxious about everything else and they're taking it out on their toaster or their kettle, you know, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very difficult, firstly, you know, if somebody comes raging at you or says something that appears to be personal, you know, we are human. So our initial sort of instinct is to want to, you know, react and take it personally because they're doing it to you. So it feels very personal. So it's just sort of taking a moment to separate yourself from the situation, from the person, from whatever it is that they're saying, and just creating that space to say, it's not about me. It is clearly something else that's going on, which is sometimes easier said than done, especially if it's a loved one and you want to just retaliate. It's a little bit easier when it's a stranger, because then it's clearly not personal because they don't know you. But if it is, it's just taking a moment. If it means just walking away for a second, saying, I'll be back in 5 minutes, I will do everything I can to help you, and just, you know, recouping and just realigning and saying, it's not about me. Let's put my best face on and deal with it that way, because 9 times out of 10, it isn't about you, even when it is somebody that knows you, and they can get very personal. 9 times out of, you know, a happy person is not going to behave that way.
True. So true.
Yeah.
I think, and you've got to understand that when they attack you, it's not about you, it's about them. But Carrie, how do you turn that around? So, I mean, I'm standing in the store now, a customer comes in with a toaster. Clearly, she stuck the knife into it. Now the toaster's not working. And she said, you sell absolute rubbish, you know. And then that's pushing my buttons. And I just go, woof, and try and attack. And, you know, Alan's calming me down. No, Margaret, no, don't do that, you know. So how do you, if somebody really attacks you and you know it's not about you, but your automatic instinct is just to go back and attack back, how do you stop yourself from doing that?
Well, Margaret, that's funny because my instinct is not to attack them back. But no, I know it is quite a common thing. I go as far as saying I have like a superpower with patience with clients. I ran a business for many years after school, and I remember clients getting really angry, and I just had this natural way of like speaking into their inner child, so I can see it for what it is. Okay. But then it's a fine line between that and boundaries. In other words, I so hear you. You are so frustrated about this scenario, this washing machine, and you can't do X, Y, Z. So there's boundaries, right? Like there's an absolute boundary that needs to be held in terms of accepting abuse from clients, which you'll get, or accepting shit from anyone. You know, you can have empathy and understand where they're coming from, and this is how it's going to be. These are the rules. This is, you allowed to exchange it, you know, keep it black and white, but a strong boundary around you, because you're not there to take on people's outbursts, right?
Yeah.
Boundaries. Massive boundary. But I'd have clients who would have a freak out. Perhaps I used to do helicopter charters. So, but I've always studied and been coaching since I got out of school. It's been my passion and my interest in studies. But it was a money-making thing since I was out of school. And I remember the weather would come and cancel something really important for them. And my heart would just break because they would actually be quite abusive towards me. This is a big problem. This is a fuck up. Like, we can't take the helicopter. And I would just think, oh man, like I would really do my best to try and support them in keeping the day right. This is your best. Let's make the best of this. So I wouldn't take it personally and fight back. So I'm thinking, you've spent so much money on this. This is out of our hands. And what can we do here? Like, stay in creation. Hey, right? Instead of us both losing our power and losing control here, hey, what options do we have? Where would we like to go? Stay in creation. Let's make the most of this. So I had huge empathy for saying, like, we both want the same outlook here. So it's about not taking it personally, massive boundaries, and staying in creation. Oh, that's a pity, because sometimes, Margaret, I'm sure you know, you can't help all clients. Like, especially that's.
And especially if, like, we've got a client at the moment where the thing is out of warranty. We offered to extend warranty. She said no. Now it's broken. Now she wants me to fix it for free, and it's my fault. And, you know, I never broke it. I always say, I didn't didn't make it and I didn't break it, but I'll help you to get it sorted out. But she wouldn't take in that. She came back firing on all cylinders. So yeah, it's very different. I think a lot of people have to take a lot of abuse, especially working in the stores now, and especially people think they can get away with it. Now, the last thing I just want to ask you is, I always say you can tell a big person the way they treat a small person. And I had an occasion the other day when somebody didn't know who I was, and I was just there, and they were treating me like absolute dirt. And when they realized who I was, they turned it around, but it became so charming. Now I just want to say, keep away from me. You're not my type of person. But how do you handle that when you see somebody who's really treating, the car guard with abuse? I mean, I saw somebody the other day abusing the car guard, and I ran up and I just gave him 100 rand. I said, here, this is on behalf of all the people who treat you badly. Have this 100 from me. So, but you do see it happening, and I can't stand to watch it. So I just go and get involved. But how do you do it? You see somebody really swearing at the car, bugger off, you didn't even watch my car, I'm not going to give you your 2 rand. Do you ever say anything to it, or you just let it go?
Gosh, you know what? It speaks to your values. So everyone has values, but you'll have things that are more important to you. If you were to look at all the lists, you would say, so for you, Margaret, maybe something is so valuable to you is like respect, decency, just that human connection. Whereas someone might see a dog being abused and be fine with it. Other ones would jump in and want to murder the person. So it's to the degree it's going to impact you. So true. I too might say something, and it's about also again having boundaries. Because I don't often see it happen with other people. That would be like this drama where you feel like, What I'm trained to do is support people in standing up for themselves. So when you're giving me this example, I'm thinking I've actually I can't think on the top of my head when I'm viewing it for other people, but it would be for me to support you in standing up for yourself in like that car guard. I perhaps would say something, and then I'd want to have a word with that car guard. Especially with domestic workers as well. I want to say, hey, no, and you stand up for yourself. You don't accept that, because often they'll have me and a few other bosses. So then in that space, I want to really empower you to stand up for yourself. I don't want to be the rescuer in your life. I want you to stand up and do what you need to do. Yeah.
But I mean, that person clearly knew that they were doing something wrong, because they changed their attitude the minute they saw you. So they do have a level of human decency. They were just choosing not to use it. And I think that's the key, is if they're different around different people, or when somebody else is in the room, then they're just choosing not to use their respect and their value system as such, which is just sad.
So Stacey, just a wrap up from you on anxiety and how people should deal with it going through this whole COVID situation, which seems to be never going away. I'm praying that it does. I've had enough of it. I never want to see another mask in my life again. But how do we just put this anxiety that I find that wearing a mask makes me bad tempered anyway, because I can't see it. It makes me hot, and so how do you tell people to deal with anxiety, or don't you just let them?
So for me, I obviously have a level of anxiety that I struggle with, and my thing is, after drinking alcohol, often I feel very anxious, and whatever has been going on is now exasperated. So I do try and stay away from that. I try and be, as clear with my alcohol levels as possible, and try and not drink. And then it's also caffeine, drinking too much. I love coffee, and I'm never going to say, no, don't drink coffee. But I know that if I drink too much coffee, especially in the morning in a row, I feel quite anxious easily, because, it restricts blood flow to our body and our organs, so our brain. So it does increase anxiety. Another anxiety increaser for me is not having enough vitamin D. So not having enough sunlight on my body, and I therefore try and take some vitamin D every day extra. And when I am feeling anxious, my 2 things are write it down and book a session with a specialist. Those are huge in my world. Ask Jess, that's me. And that's what I believe in, because I love to process things, and my family and friends don't always I think they might not tell me, then it might not be as honest as I need somebody to be, and see it from a different perspective.
Yeah, fantastic.
So those are my go-tos.
Yes, your wrap up for today.
Yeah, I think for me, we've obviously said that we can't avoid anxious feelings. They are inevitable. So it's about having a really, really good level of self-awareness. And as we've mentioned, our thoughts create our feelings, and our feelings create our behavior. So if we're having these anxious feelings, it's to figure out why, and to, as Carrie's mentioned, to catch those thoughts before it becomes a feeling, before it becomes bigger, and to reroute those thoughts, and just staying on top of them, and listening to our body, listening to those cues. And instead of trying to push them down and just carry on with life, to actually ask yourself in that moment, okay, what do I need to do? What do I need? It might be something as simple as a glass of water. It might mean a conversation with someone, and do whatever it is that your body's asking you for, so that it doesn't become bigger.
Fantastic. And Carrie, thank you so much for being our guest speaker today. You've been amazing, I must say.
Thank
Absolutely
you.
amazing. And thank you. Just a wrap up to you, for those people who are still feeling anxious, they've listened to us anyway, but they're still feeling a little bit anxious. What am I going to do? I can't get to England. I can't get to Egypt. We just have to stay at home for Christmas. By the way, I'm doing a cooking dem tomorrow with a vegan Christmas. So I'll show you how to make a turkey that looks like a turkey made of vegetables. And I'm cooking with Azelle, so she's cooking all the meaty stuff. A wrap up from you to people who are feeling anxious, especially the men out there, because a lot of them are taking a lot of strain at the moment. Yeah.
So, Margaret, also, just quickly also wrap up and say, you mentioned such a good thing, Stacey, about taking inventory. So we've spoken about what anxiety is. And of course, number one thing you're going to do is be in action. So in anxiety, you go into survival mode. What do you do to face? What do you do when you've got a fear? You face it. So it's like number one thing, face your fear. But if you are recovering from having experienced anxiety for quite a while, I would go as far as saying, look at your life, and every single decision from the moment you wake up, if you are wanting to recover from a period of anxiety, you need to come from a space of, does this cause me anxiety? But I'm talking about making your coffee in the morning. Do you want to wash the dishes, or do you want to load it in a dishwasher? Because I did that a year ago. I said, everything I want to do is I want to be calm. That is what I value. You spoke about seeing car guards fighting and something like that. It's because you really value that. For me, it was like, I really value my emotional calmness. I want to feel calm. So I'm going to re-establish everything. And I went to Hirsch and bought a washing machine, asked our husband. We went, bought a dishwasher, because I was like, every little point of my life, I wanted to be eliminating stress and making my life such that I can be calm. I want everything to work in my favor to be calm, because I want to be calm and chilled. Yes, so it's honoring those values of like, that's what I'm needing right now. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, this has been an amazing, amazing session, and everybody's experiencing anxiety. I don't care who they are.
yes,
what
everyone.
It's a tough time. We don't know what's happening. I mean, all of you, when we got that thing, Ramaphosa speaking at 8 o'clock, we said, oh my God, what now? And then of course, we were just discussing it wherever you go. And then it came, we still are staying on level 1. Thank the Lord. So, I mean, there's all these things that we have, and it's out of our control. People like security, but they also like insecurity as well. So it's nice to know that something was going to happen, but you like your secure life. Those days are gone. I think we have to realize that, and we have to be able to cope with it. So with anxiety, you've just got to get it out there, put it out there, have somebody to speak to. My mother she's 96 and she still hears everything. She doesn't understand half of what I tell her. What I do is way out of her realm, but I bounce everything off her, and she'll give me the odd pearls of wisdom that still come back and I still value. But if you haven't got a mother of 96 and who will tell you exactly what to do, then I say go to a specialist, and we're putting all the details on here. If you don't know who to go to, that's why we've got Connectable Life, because they'll put you on the right person. Because today you need a specialist. You can't just go to somebody who's going to shoot a pea with a shotgun. It doesn't work like that. Find a specialist who's going to get you. They're going to find you the right person. Thank you, Carrie, so much. We're going to put all your details on here as well. And to everybody, thanks so much. Now, Stacey, just quickly tell us who's speaking next week.
Next week is Charisse. Yes.
Charisse is the trauma expert.
Remember we spoke about it last week.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So if you had any trauma in your life, and who hasn't, join us next week, 9 o'clock on Monday morning, and we'll have Charisse here, who's going to be talking to you about how to deal with the trauma in your life and how to get over it. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today.
Carrie. Thanks,
Thanks
Margaret.
so much, Margaret.
Great.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.